Welcome to What's Up at Work, the podcast that's all about real talk with the company leaders shaping Northeast Ohio's top workplaces. We're diving into the stories, strategies, and sometimes hilarious moments that come with creating the thriving teams that drive the region's most successful businesses forward. Whether it's a CEO sharing their leadership philosophy or an HR exec spilling their best people-first strategies, we're here to give you insights you can actually use to build a better workplace. Hit play and let's talk about what's really up at work. Welcome back to What's Up at Work. I'm Sam Clyde Schroeder, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at ERC, and today we're talking about the future of leadership. With baby boomers and Gen X leaders retiring, we have a new wave of CEOs stepping up, and their innovative approaches are creating ripple effects across industries. Joining us today is Josh Marx, CEO of Medical Service Company, a third-generation family business specializing in home medical equipment and patient care. Appointed CEO 2 years ago, Josh has brought a fresh perspective to the role, earning accolades like the Inc. 5000 list for fastest-growing private companies in the U.S. and the NorthCoast 99 Award for top workplaces in Northeast Ohio. If you want the scoop on where company leadership is headed, this episode's a must-listen. Welcome to What's Up at Work, Josh.
Thanks, Sam. It's great to be here.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's start by talking a little bit about Medical Service Company and kind of what you do. You've been around for 70 plus years. That's a big deal. What have you guys been doing to keep things rolling?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again. And we're really proud to be 74 years young. We're just a few months away from celebrating our 75th anniversary. It's really important to me and to us that we talk about it in the sense of being 74 years young. And we really think like that. It is important for us to continue to evolve. You know, consumer demands change. Healthcare changes, what our employees need changes. And so the company that we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago is obviously very different than where we're at today. And so making sure that we understand that change is inevitable, I think it's helped us a lot just to remain independent and family owned in a world where that just doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And being family owned, was change hard for you coming in and kind of taking over the CEO role? You know, was it anytime you come in and there's a new leader, obviously change is inevitable, but how was that for you because you were coming in behind your father? You know, what was that like?
Yeah, well, I think when I joined the company in 2010, you know, one of the things that I thought a lot about is, you know, my name's on the back of my jersey and everybody's watching what I'm doing. And so that can go one of two ways. I can either say, you know, oh, this is mine for the taking, or I can say, I got to give 150% just to earn credibility and respect and a little bit of sweat equity along the way. And I really have tried to go that route, let my bat do the talking more than anything. But again, you have to put the effort in and the work so people can see that and believe that you are really working alongside them to help everyone grow.
Right. The fact that you've kind of played every role at the organization, I imagine that helped you get buy-in, because they could see that you could do the job too and you wanted to be there and you weren't above it, right?
It helped. It helped me understand the business from, you know, how we get the phone to ring the first time, how we make sure that the phone rings the second time, how do we support our customers, how do we support ourselves internally, and where's the industry going and growing. If I wasn't in so many different parts of the organization over the last 14 years, I probably wouldn't be able to provide as much strategic vision.
Right. Limited perspective if you've only done one thing.
For sure.
If you look back over your career, you know, you've kind of played all these roles. What was your favorite job besides yours now?
I think, I really enjoy cold calling, which is one of those things
Me
that
too.
Nobody really likes. I don't mind getting the door slammed in my face, but I more like just sort of picking at questions and you know, they say that kids are the best salespeople because they just keep asking why and they keep asking and asking. And so I don't know if I channel my children a little bit when I'm out in the field, but it's just fun to try to overcome an obstacle where you're walking into something and you know the person that you're facing likely doesn't want to see you, has no interest in purchasing something or partnering with you. And so kind of navigating that is a lot of fun.
The win always feels better when there was a challenge.
For sure.
When it comes easy, it's like, that was all right.
That's right.
But yes, I mean, that's what an incredible story you have. And then just kind of looking from, you know, coming from sales and moving into the CEO role, was there anything that you weren't expecting kind of when you got to the top?
There's things that you're going to anticipate in terms of, meet and greets and, town halls and making tough decisions at times. I think one of the things that I was most surprised with was the things that I say resonate so strongly or really stick. So the things that I say, people hear and they repeat and they use those in their everyday lives at work, which is, it can be really good, but it can also be a weapon if you're saying something wrong. There's definitely been times where I was not fully prepared in a meeting on what message I wanted to deliver, and things can get a little hairy. And then on the other side of the fence, not so much what I say, but then what I don't say. If I'm recognizing a team that performed well, and I've got 3 other teams that were not recognized, but they performed average or above, and I don't say something, is there a reason Josh didn't say something?
Yeah, more questions for sure.
Yeah.
And so as you're kind of approaching that, you spoke about change before. Coming into this role, what did you say, like, okay, I'm going to change this about what was happening before. This is my first change I'm going to make as CEO.
One of the first things that we did, we got the executive team together off-site and we designed core values for the company. And that's something that we didn't have before. We had a mission statement and it was long and relevant, but not memorized across the board. And so we worked together to come up with these core values, and it's been just really neat to see it stitch into the DNA of the company. Our people know the core values. They make decisions that lever off of them, and they've really held up very strong in the last couple of years. So that's something that we've all been really proud about.
For those who don't know, what are core values and why do they matter?
Well, so my definition of core values are guardrails for employees to make decisions safely and understand, where are the sides of the pool? Like, where can you go? How should you be thinking about decisions that you have to make? You're not always going to have a manager over your shoulder telling you, what's good, what's bad, how to do this, how to do that. If you have these core values, they really help structure everything that you're doing at work. And it should also be in alignment with any other strategic initiative that's rolled out in the organization to sort of double down on it. We have been fortunate to have a somewhat structured business strategy plan that I think has just evolved with the organization. And core values was it was the right time, the right place, and the right group of people to put it together.
You already had the system in place and it was like the cherry on top.
Correct.
Essentially.
Yeah.
You mentioned the leadership team before, and it kind of brings us to a unique point, which is you guys really value human resources to the point where you have a CHRO, do you not?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about why HR matters at Medical Service Company?
Yeah. So for us, one of the kind of real deliberate changes that took place during COVID was this kind of refocus on who our primary customer is. And so we take care of patients that are leaving the hospital and go home. So we have customers in terms of patients, insurance companies, hospitals, caregivers, all of those individuals or stakeholders are customer base of ours. But really, the primary customer that I have and that we have as a leadership team are the people. And if we are designing an organization that delights those customers, I'm very confident that the rest will trickle down to the rest of our customers. And we just, it evolved at, I don't want to say at the right time, but at the time when COVID happened, nobody knew what was reality and didn't know what was going on. We sent everybody to work from home and they didn't know what, am I ever going to come back? Do I still have a job? And so we just over communicated at that point and realized that our team really appreciated that and found comfort and stability in us treating them in that way. And so we've just carried that forward.
That's really interesting. I mean, and this is the next gen CEO piece of it.
you have a pretty enlightened view on HR, especially for somebody who came up in sales. Can you kind of talk about, salespeople typically, it's not that we can't be friends with HR, we can be the best of friends, but when you're on the revenue side of the business and you're really focused on the money, we typically aren't the first people to vote for investing in something internal where you're not going to see ROI, but as the leader, you choose to invest in it. Why? What's the ROI that you're seeing?
Yeah, so certainly, we look at, our budget, our return on our investment, making sound financial decisions is something that we have to do. One of the other really important things about being a CEO is trusting your gut and going with intuition. And, you're never going to have 100% of the information for any decision that you make. And we hear that from a lot of CEOs, and you have to go with what feels right. In pretty much every investment that we've made in people, whether that's for engagement events or, getting groups together or bringing new resources to our workforce, I find that after we do it, I say to our chief people officer and our executive team, what the heck would have happened if we didn't do this? Like there's never a feeling of like, I can't believe we spent that on that. It's always like, I wonder what would have happened if we didn't do that. Are we going to lose people faster? Are they going to lose trust in us? Are they going to come to work and give us 70 or 80% instead of 110% like what we want?
Right.
So certainly we have to balance the budget, but at the end of the day, like it's a feel thing and making sure that we're taking care of our community of employees as kind of that first step.
And I mean, that's where the finances come in too. If you have people operating at 70% capacity when you want them at 110,
right.
The output, it does equate back to revenue.
A direct return on investment for throughput, engagement, customer experience, all the things that all CEOs really are looking at or should be looking at.
On the distribution side of the business, are you finding that retention or finding new employees is challenging for you?
Finding great people is a huge challenge. That's one of the reasons that we do dedicate so much time to, leverage a lot of ERC resources in terms of, salary compensation data and, participating in NorthCoast 99 to understand where do we rank and what do we do to make sure that we're attracting the best and the brightest, because we're competing for a workforce that isn't just in healthcare distribution. They could be working in any facet of any industry in any market that we're recruiting in, and we've got to be a dynamic employer.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, that's another place, I guess, that the money comes in. I mean, you spend up front to get the right people in, but if you have the great culture and you're focused on HR, they stick around, right?
Right.
And I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know the exact figures, but the cost of losing someone, looking for someone, onboarding them, my God, it would have been easier to keep them around.
Yeah, it's thousands, and then we all have a batting average on hiring. So I mean, you're going to spend all that money, and then you're going to bring somebody in if 25 or 40% batting average. So you might not even bring the right person at that time.
Oh yeah,
and you're doing it all over again. So there's a huge opportunity cost, and it's always worth the investment for us.
Absolutely. And so if we're kind of just, because you come from sales, and I'm just going to grab, channel your salesperson here. And, even though you've made a very compelling case for why HR matters.
Right?
Absolutely.
I should be all right at that.
Can you, for the non-believers, because I'm sure they're still out there somewhere, go pitch that leader who's not quite on board with HR. What would you say to them to bring them into the fold, bring them on board with why HR matters? Well,
I think, our biggest expense, or one of our largest expenses, is personnel related. So, if I'm looking at just purely financials, I'm looking at what's costing the organization money, and should you look at that as a way to enhance that as a stronger asset. I talked about the 70% and 110%. We ask our people to give 110%. We can only do that because we give them 110% back. And if you're not doing that, then how can you expect that from them? And there's just a huge disparity there in terms of return on investment if you're not out there meeting with your employees asking how you can help support them more. What tools do they need? If you're hiding behind a desk, you're just not going to get it done.
Right. And I mean, being in touch is a huge thing. If you don't understand what's going on, at the doer level, the individual contributor level, how can you ever make an informed decision about what to do next?
Right.
So you guys, because of all of this, the success that you found with the way that you treat your people and everything that we've been talking about, giving them 110%, you've been awarded quite a few important accolades, especially recently. You just made the Inc. 5000 list, correct?
Yeah, it's been a cool year.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you made that list, what it is?
Sure. Yeah, so we made the Inc. 5000 list for 2024, which puts us as one of the 5,000 fastest growing private businesses in the United States.
Holy.
Which is pretty cool for a
Yeah, that's
74-year young company. We feel really lucky. One of the things that we talk at Medical Service Company a lot about is growth. And we talk about growth for a couple reasons. Growth is important because as we grow, we add new positions. We create new departments completely. We create new management levels. We create new supervisor and lead opportunities. So when we talk to our staff and say, why does growth matter? It's not just like putting money in a shareholder's pocket. It's creating a opportunity to learn and grow and expand. That's one really big thing. The other big thing is, what we do is deliver health care. And we believe very strongly that any patient that doesn't get service from Medical Service Company is being underserved. And so we take care of about 200,000 patients every year. We know there are tens of thousands more across the country that would benefit from getting service from our really caring employees.
You are so confident and passionate in, the quality of service that MSC provides. Do you find that we got this, we're the best energy trickles down?
I hope. I meet with all of our new hires when they join us in the first month or so, and we do that in a group setting, typically virtually, just with our workforce being across the country. And I tell them just that, like, we're going to grow, and these are some of the reasons why it matters. I think one of the benefits that we have is, the old saying of like, we're not doing rocket science here, we're not doing brain surgery. We're not, but we're like pretty close. We're providing respiratory services to patients that can't breathe without the devices that we provide.
That's within inches of brain surgery, man.
It's we don't have any initials behind our name that would allow us to do something like that, and we don't want to take anything away from the surgeons and the physicians. Of course. But from a caregiving standpoint, from the clinical respiratory support that we provide to patients with lung disease and diabetes and other comorbidities, they rely on us to keep them healthy. And so all of our employees that are able to contribute in any way, they get up out of bed every morning and they feel a little bit different than selling a widget, which helps.
Yeah, I mean, when the stakes are that high, you have to believe you're the best. Otherwise, it's literally a do or die situation.
Right. Our patients and our partners just rely on it. And so it does trickle down. And I think it makes it easier to give 110%, especially when you can see your peers doing the same thing.
Absolutely. And to circle back to the growth in the Inc. 5000 situation, the way that, so your energy in creating that growth internally and not just focusing on revenue, but also providing the opportunities for people to grow throughout the organization. Have you ever seen that kind of growth before 2024?
We have seen adequate, average, decent growth. And we've grown in a couple ways. We've grown organically and we've grown through acquisition. And so we've probably completed 15 to 20 acquisitions in the last 20 years. So we've not been immune to growth. But I think the last few years we saw a lot as it related to a respiratory pandemic, as well as we had a few strategic acquisitions that helped us expand. And that's, I think, when we saw an even larger requirement for people focus. We went from 300 employees to 600 employees in about a 6-month period.
Wow. And
so to have the infrastructure to support that, we probably didn't have enough. And if I told you we did that, I think some employees would be listening saying, you're full of it. We certainly, there's an elasticity of any organization that can grow and scale at some point. And then you're like, now we need to do some things differently.
Right.
So we've gotten stronger and better as a result of that. But, it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
How did you support doubling your workforce size?
Yeah. Well, investment in our HR team has been really big. Leveraging partners like ERC has been very helpful. Our executive team and our leadership team is incredible. We've got great tenure and good commitment. And so it makes my job a lot easier knowing that I don't need to be the one that shows up every day to knock it out of the park because I've got a ton of peers that do that along with me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty incredible thing to have done that level of growth. And it does bring us to human resources and some other awards that you've won recently, particularly one close to my and ERC's heart, NorthCoast 99. This is your 13th year winning the award.
That's
and right. NorthCoast, it's a little different than Inc. 5000 because it's internally focused. So that just, I mean, it's an HR award. It's about the way that you treat your employees. Are they engaged? Policies, benefits, all the things that make people want to work for you and create that culture. Those are the ones who win NorthCoast, and you guys have shown up 13 different times and continued to win it. Can you talk a little bit about, why that has mattered and kind of what has driven MSC to win that award so many times over the course of, years passing? You had to evolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one thing that has stuck with me for a long time, I joined the company in 2010. Mm-hmm. We had, I think, won 5 or 6 NorthCoast awards at that time. And then from the year that I joined, for like 8 more years, we didn't win anything.
You blew up the culture.
So maybe I was too far on the fringe to impact it, but we didn't win any awards. And like, I took it personal, and we all did because, we look at the NorthCoast 99 recognition as a representation of us being a top workplace in the United States. We know it's focused on Northeast Ohio, but it's something that we wave across the country with all of our staff. So that one's always stuck with me, but 13 is great. We've had the last 5 or 6 years straight where we've been able to be recognized. This last year, 2 of the big things that we focused on, one of them is wellness and employee wellness. That's something that's really important to me. It helps me stay sane, and wellness is different for everybody, but we really try to double down on how to support our employees to focus on their health, nutrition, well-being. We offered the Calm app for all 600 of our employees.
I tell everyone that factoid. It's the coolest benefit I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We get hundreds of actions in it every month. Our employees really enjoy it. We had a lot of employees that were using it already, so they really have helped champion it.
Right.
And anything from meditation to helping you fall asleep a little easier, and so that's been a big piece on the wellness side. And then the other piece is belonging. So, really making sure that our team feels like they can bring their authentic selves to work and feel as though they're accepted. And so we launched this really awesome group called Empower Her. And the Empower group is strong women at medical service company that meet on a regular basis. It's run by 2 of our highest ranking female leaders at the company, our chief administrative officer and our chief people officer. They co-run it. And it's just an open forum for women to talk at the company about challenges they're having at work, at home, how to balance those things, and something that I'm just really proud of.
Wow. Again, incredibly innovative, doesn't exist in a lot of places. And I mean, how much of that was driven by your own, experience being a young dad, having the kids at home? Like, did that kind of push you in this direction at all?
The best things that happen at our company, and I think a lot of companies, are things that the CEO doesn't even know about or doesn't have a direct hand in. So I knew that this group was being designed. We talked about it, but our leaders at the company brought it forward and said, I'd love to do this. So just bringing it forward tells me that they feel like they can bring their authentic selves and that it's a very open and trusting environment. And so I was more of a this is awesome. Let me join the first meeting and tell everyone how excited I am and then get the heck out of the way. And that's the best stuff that happens is that.
Wow, they brought it to you.
Yeah.
That's a great example of like org structure that's working and open communication. That's a very, very cool initiative. I think that I want to talk about you a little bit and kind of what you've done, how you see yourself continuing to grow, and even just creating this culture of people who are so dedicated and so competent. So you are, quite the progressive leader again, and I think to remain progressive, especially coming in and being a new CEO in a world of people who have been, some of them have been around for 30, 40 years running their companies. How do you hang in that room? What do you walk in and feel like, I believe I should be here? I feel like the answer is probably yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think, you have to have a level of confidence going back to like making that sales call and going towards the no zone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to walk in with some confidence and just, a confidence that like, what needs to get done.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what your role is in all of it. Like when you're CEO, your job is not to like have all the answers. Your job is not to problem solve everything. Your job is to like help orchestrate like a beautiful symphony, but like get the heck out of the way also. And so I think, trying to navigate that, it's something that I'm working at, but it's an area that I think is gives me confidence as well.
Yeah. And being part of this, the new class, the next gen kind of CEO up and coming into this world of people who've been around for, those 40 years, what are you bringing that's probably contributing?
QR codes? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, for real though.
No, just, I think, just a different lens, a different perspective. I think that generations, there's different perspectives from different generations, and that's okay. And depending on the generation that you grew up in, I think is going to dictate the type of leader that you are. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just different. I think challenging the norms is something that I've been comfortable with. Again, as long as like the things that we're doing and the decisions that we're contemplating are in alignment with all those guardrails that I talked about, the core values, our vision statement, the vibe of, how you feel, like just saying things that you're thinking and feeling that might not be like corporately appropriate, but that's just like
everyone's
people
thinking it,
authentically and just being ourselves. I think I've found pretty comfortable with that. And, at everything from how you say things and what you wear, like, again, it all comes down to like letting your bat do the talking and don't let anything else overshadow that.
I like that. I'm picking up that phrase,
Yeah.
let your bat do the talking.
Yeah.
I'm walking away with that one.
Good.
So you obviously are good at your job right now, clearly, but you're also, you have a lot of career left ahead of you. How do you want to grow between now and when you're that most tenured person in the room?
Yeah, so I think every day my goal is to get better. You think about athletes watching film. I think of, my networking and that being really important to observe and learn from other people that have either been in their role for a while or not, just understanding perspectives and trying to learn what's worked and what hasn't worked. That's really important. We're all evolving, and two of our core values have to do with change. One is embrace change, and one is drive change. And so, both of those are really important because we get hit in the mouth a lot with things that we have to be resilient towards, and then we need to think creatively, and sometimes inside of the box, and sometimes outside of the box. And so, the more exposure that I have to different scenarios and different people and perspectives allows me to really impact change and influence it.
What are you doing kind of tangibly, steps that you're taking to grow as a CEO over the course of your career?
Yeah, there's really two big things that I think about related to that. First one is pretty regularly when I meet with my direct reports, I'm asking them, like, how am I doing? And how did I come across in that meeting? Or what did you pick up from my vibe in this discussion?
Do you get honest feedback?
I do, but I have to pick at it a little bit more. Like, tell me one thing that you wish I didn't do in that meeting. And sometimes it's like, it's things that like, okay, maybe I intended to give off a certain thing that they didn't like, but at least like creating an environment where they feel a little bit comfortable in giving me constructive criticism, because that's not something that you get a lot when you're CEO.
Right.
So that's one thing, seeking internally. And then the other thing is seeking for support externally. And I've recently started working with an executive coach that ERC has helped coordinate for me and match made me. And so it's been a great experience. And I get a little bit more homework now that I wasn't used to getting, but it's been really healthy for me.
So this executive coach you speak of, it's Tom Williams, who was the chairman and CEO of Parker Hannifin for quite some time. Like, what is that like?
Yeah. I think, our company in total is likely smaller than some of the Midwest plants that they had.
Right.
And so, I think Tom's experience and the things he's seen is in some ways very different to what we're going through, but also we've seen just a ton of parallels related to organizational design, how to engage people, and how to lead properly as a CEO. Like, what lane should I step in? What lane should I not step in? Going back to like when my team comes up with something that I know nothing about or that I had very little involvement in, like that's the best sort of orchestration. And so, learning how to navigate that, Tom's been really helpful with. Tom's also really taught me that, in terms of delivering vision on strategy, the CEO needs to be consistent, almost like I think of it like a metronome, where I have to like set a pace or a rhythm for the organization. And that lets them know how quickly or what type of pace we're going to go towards. I have to be very deliberate on describing what the North Star looks like. And then I got to get the hell out of the way and just let the team do the things that they do best. I can't do it as well as they can, but I can be very consistent on what it needs to look like at the end. And that's something that I'm still working very hard at, but Tom has really challenged me a lot towards that.
That metronome, I was like, what is a metronome?
Yeah.
It's one of these guys?
Yeah. I played piano like a long time ago, but if you pulled it out, I could only hit the entertainer. That's probably the only thing I could do. But the metronome is, just the back and forth.
The tick-tock
the
my
tick-tock
grandma had
that
on
you
top
can crank
of her.
it up or crank it down. So like, what kind of like water level are we in? Do I need to crank it up or crank it down?
And it's a steady pace. That's the whole point. That's the back forth. It's
the
steadiness.
Got to be steady because, the bigger your organization, the more that when you change things, there's that whiplash impact of, what are these guys doing? Do they know what's going on? And so having a steady hand but still influencing the pace, I think, is really critical.
I mean, all of that coming from Tom is I think it would be beneficial to any CEO at any point in their career. But looking at kind of talking about that next gen, people coming in and stepping fresh into the CEO role, do you think they'd benefit from, this same type of like teaching that you're going through? Like, what does Tom bring to the table for that next generation of CEOs coming in?
Well, I think the one thing that I've additionally learned since taking over as CEO is, and I heard this ahead of time, was, it's lonely at the top. And it is very true that as the CEO, you are the least biased decision maker in the organization. And so it's really hard to grind through some challenges that might influence parts of the organization differently, but what's best, that it is best for the organization. And so to have somebody externally to talk that through and get feedback and challenges on like, all right, if I do this, like what are the 5 sort of ramifications that I need to consider? And so having that sounding board, it's something that I think all CEOs should have and should not be afraid to pay for it. It is easy to get democratic buy-in internally when things are going well. Like when things are great, everyone's slapping hands and, breaking champagne open and like that's cool. But I think the real test of leadership is when you get the headwinds, not just the tailwinds. And we've experienced both of those in the last 2 years since I've taken over, and find that, you can't all stack hands internally on some decisions.
Yeah. I mean, just when things are good, it's easy. When things aren't, going their best, having that sounding board sounds like it's really important.
Definitely.
What's one piece of advice or something that you can say, that was a good one, I'm writing that down?
I think it is consistency and clarity in the message. So we have 5 goals at the organization. If every meeting that I attend for the next year, I only talk about those 5 goals, we're in great shape. If I get off tangent or I talk about something in the weeds, which is not that's not my space.
Right.
I need to bring everyone back to this is where North Star is pointing. These things matter. Figure everything else out and get us closer towards these things.
Yeah, getting out of the weeds.
Yeah.
That's huge. Okay, that's awesome, Josh, and I appreciate kind of you sharing that experience, and again, just your willingness to continue that professional development and work with someone. It sounds like it's been beneficial, but also that's a really new and progressive kind of approach to being a CEO. Just looking for feedback. Tell me what I can improve, and I mean, it sounds like you found a way to do that. And so to kind of wrap up this little chat that we're having, I want to play a game called HR Hot Seat.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the deal. 10 questions,
Okay.
10 seconds or less to answer.
10 seconds per question or 10 seconds total?
I can't talk that fast. Can you
Okay.
talk that fast? I can talk fast,
no,
but
we'll
okay,
go
10
with
seconds
metronome
each.
pace. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
10 seconds each.
All
Got
right,
it.
here we go.
Okay.
Harder job, dad or CEO? Why?
Dad, they don't listen as well.
That's great. All right, one thing you can't start the workday without.
Cooler full of food.
A cooler full of food.
Yeah, I got to have snacks. I got to graze. Yeah, I'm going to bring food to the meetings. I'm sorry if there's cucumber in my teeth when we're talking, but I'm not going to go hide in my office and close my door and eat. We got to keep working.
Did you bring a lunchbox?
I have but it's a thing. It's got a cooler. It's in the car. It's packed with
It's an adult
stuff.
lunchbox.
It
Yes,
is. It's
a
a very
graduated
grown-up lunchbox. There's no stickers on it, but that's because my kids haven't offered them yet.
Right. So. No, your kids have taken all the stickers for their own
That's a
lunchboxes.
fact.
Yes, you're fresh out. All right, the job at MSC you wish you could do for a day. One day.
Yeah, I mean, look, put me out in the field again with the sales team.
Yeah.
That's where I like to work.
All right, coolest benefit you offer your employees besides the Calm app, because I already made you say that one.
Okay. We introduced something called U Days, which are sort of layered on top of PTO bank. So just basically added 2 days to our team's bank every year that we say these are the days for you, for yourself, which is the only way, again, that our people can give us 110% is if they log off 110%. So we tried to bonus them a couple extra days just to take some time on wellness.
It's not a universal U day. It's an I need a me day today.
Yeah,
Josh,
just
I'm not
whatever
coming
you
in.
want. Yeah, you got two floating bonus days.
That's awesome. Okay, that's a very cool benefit. All right, so the biggest reason people like working for a medical service company?
I think that 2 things: they feel like they build each other up and enjoy the people that they work alongside. Additionally, they come into work and they take care of patients. They have great, fulfilling work.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, and I love that that's kind of twofold. It's your team, but also it's what you're doing and buying into the mission. All right, yay or nay, and why? Mandatory return to the office policy.
Yay or nay, mandatory return to the office policy.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, I'll give you this, but I'll give you that. So we are leaning more towards having opportunities for in-person engagement, specifically for our managers that need to understand sort of patterns and changes when we hand patients off from department to department. So collaboration in person is really important,
Right.
but we are also recruiting and employ folks across 20 states. And so there's a balance. However, when we send surveys out and ask all of our employees what's their favorite memory working at medical service company, which we ask.
That's cool.
We never get like, oh, I get to work on Thursdays in my jammies. Like, that's not what they say. They say, oh, that in-person cookout that we had this year, or the winter dinner. So we're trying to figure out like where to meet that mark, where we're giving flexibility, but we're also creating an environment where everybody can come together and feel the sum of their parts.
Do you guys do like the equivalent of those big family reunions where you see your like third cousins from Columbus? Do you bring all 600 together?
We haven't. We brought together about 130
Okay.
in April, where we had every department represented, and we asked every manager to nominate a few people to represent each department.
Cool.
We can't really stop what we're doing in terms of taking care of patients, leaving a hospital and going home and delivering equipment
It's hard
to
to
their
take a
home.
day off from that.
So we don't really take any days off,
Right.
but we did have a great in-person event that we called Impact, which does have something to do with our vision of delivering impactful and sincere care. And so that was really well received, and we just need to do more of that.
All right. And then ChatGPT at work. Yay, nay?
Love it. So we're heavy on Copilot, tied into Microsoft, huge fans. We talk every week, the executive team. Give me examples how you applied Copilot to perform your role better. So we talk about it all the time. It's huge.
What's, for you personally, the most helpful way that you use Copilot?
Think a couple things: summarizing long files, either that I'm going to send out or that I'm going to read, giving me a summary, as well as like prepare me open remarks on something while also considering my core values, my mission statement, and these 5 emails I just sent recently to MSC all. Like, put that all together and tell me coherently why what I'm trying to say is going to align.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it's the outline, you insert your own thoughts, but just that jumping off point and being able to say, I don't know, it's my sales team loves using it because I work at an association. Here's a description of my clients. I need help trying to track them down for X, Y, or Z. And it's insane what it spits out, man.
It's a sick tool.
Yeah, it's a sick tool for sure. All right. Last question. Best work event of the year?
I think I probably teased it out. It was our in-person impact event, but the bookend of that event was our annual awards night. And so that's the night where we recognize all the annual award winners. We bring them in from all different parts of the country.
Cool.
If they're finalists, we let them come on stage, say a few words. So we had a delivery technician from Mansfield, and we had, a respiratory therapist from Evansville, Indiana. And so it's just a great way to shine a spotlight on all the great work that's happening across the organization.
You do that internally. That's awesome.
Yeah, we do.
How do you nominate? Managers nominate employees?
We have everyone can nominate their peers, and then there's a review team, and it goes to a secondary review, and it's pretty rigorous.
Wow, that's thorough.
It's very thorough.
Yes. All right. You make them earn it. That's awesome. Yes. Josh, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. Again, talking about just kind of the next generation of leadership and how Josh and Josh's peers are, taking on the workforce and the way that things are going to change as we see this new type of management, new type of leader come in and start buying into the same kind of mission that Josh has outlined for us today. Thank you so much. It was great to see you.
It's great to see you too.
We'll catch up soon.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to everything that ERC does for us.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of What's Up at Work. Now it's time to get out there and start building better workplaces. If you need help with where to start, ERC has your back. Head to yourerc.com for exclusive HR tools, insights, and resources to help you attract and retain top talent. And keep tuning into What's Up at Work for more strategies and secrets to help leaders like you create thriving workplaces. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.